Well, I guess this also brings me to the next question. And by the way, welcome, Lewis. He's going to be asking some questions here in just a moment. Um, I want to ask you, what are the earliest manuscripts that we have that um, attest to the New Testament? Can you maybe name some specifically?
We have tiny little fragments that go back to the early to mid second century. The most famous, the oldest known fragment, the so called John Rylands fragment, because it's housed in the John Rylands Museum in Manchester, England, is often dated to about the first quarter of the second century. But all that it has are a few fragments of verses out of the Gospel of John. By the time you get to late in the second century, you start to have close to an entire book, particularly a gospel, particularly Matthew, Luke, and John. The works that have played a hugely disproportionate role in textual criticism really are the two nearly complete New Testaments from the fourth century that are known as Codex Vaticanus, because it's been kept in the Vatican Library, and Sinaiticus, because for many centuries it was preserved in a monastery on Mount Sinai, or near the base of Mount Sinai, but now can be seen in the British Library, which is a public museum, and you can see it free of charge. Then there are three also nearly complete New Testaments from the fifth century that usually would be seen as the next most important. One is called Alexandrinus. You can see that in the British Library also. One is called Codex Ephremi Rescriptus. And then you have the so-called Western text, or Codex Bezae, which is actually housed in Cambridge at the University Library in Cambridge, England. And then there are more.
When some of these were discovered, maybe in the last century or so, did it significantly change scholars' understanding of the New Testament, or was it pretty much in line with what they had already believed?
The most dramatic discoveries really came in the 19th century, including some of those that I've mentioned. And if you're asking, which at that time it was basically the King James Bible that was the English Bible that everyone read, were there discoveries that helped us to realize that two large chunks of the New Testament of 12 verses each, like the story of the woman caught in adultery in John's Gospel, or the so-called longer ending of Mark, most probably weren't what those writers originally wrote. Yeah, that was a revelation. If you're asking overall how much difference did things make, there still are, people will say, anywhere from 97 to 98 to 99% of the New Testament was textually secure already. But interesting little differences in various verses. First Thessalonians, does Paul say that he was gentle among them, or does he say he was like babies among them? Well, he was being nice and kind and humble in any event, but the words vary.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and if you want to support the channel, visit patreon.com/Reason and Theology.